What's up, guys? Welcome back to Talkin Hawkins, our Stranger Things review, guys. Welcome to Project Potter. My name is Kyle, your host. If you haven't been to the channel before, guys, we're going through every episode of Stranger Things. These are dropping Sunday nights. We're on season 1, episode 6, The Monster. This one, not as strong as some of the other episodes, but there's a few key points that I really want to touch on here, guys. If you haven't seen the series before, what I do is go through my favorite thoughts on the episode, give a Hawkins hero, which is my favorite character, a mouth breather, which is my least favorite character, and we get another mouth breather quote in here, which is great. And then the score out of 10, guys, to kind of wrap it up. So jumping into episode 6, guys, there's only 2 left after this, so we are getting kind of towards the end of season 1. So the story is going to progress. Things are going to ramp up. A couple of things I really liked in this episode, guys. Nancy and Jonathan's relationship is really, this is the strongest episode for it by far. We pick up immediately where we left off. Nancy's in the tree and she's looking around, and it's really, really cool visually because it's all dark and blue where Nancy is. How she doesn't get eaten by a Demogorgon or captured, I don't know. But I think because they're so close to the entrance, kind of similar to how Will's mom could hear Will talking, they can still kind of hear each other. So Jonathan's in the real world, Nancy's in the upside down, but she's like, Jonathan, where are you? And he's like, I'm right here. And they're like technically right next to each other, but because they're in different worlds, they can't see each other, obviously, and they can barely hear each other. So Nancy starts going through, and the tree was closing last episode, so I missed it. I don't know if he stopped it from happening or what's going on. Jonathan is able to pull Nancy out, and then she falls on top of him, of course. It's a really nice moment, actually, because then he's like, you're okay, and then he hugs her. He really gives her a hug, oh my God, you're okay. I thought you were going to die for a second there. Then we get this amazing sequence where they go back home and she sneaks him in, I think by the window, like Steve used to come in. Jonathan is setting up a sleeping bag on the floor. You get a shot of Nancy who's taking a shower, and she's super traumatized where, dude, it's she's every time I close my eyes, I see that thing, and it's PTSD. And it's wow, it's crazy because if you think about it, probably a half hour before or less, she thought she was going to die. She was in the upside down. And then now suddenly she's back at her house. And it's you don't know if it's safe or not. And so they have a nice quick conversation where she's like, can you stay with me or whatever? Or he's like, you want me to go? And she's like, no. And she's like, do you want to be alone? He's like, no. And so they both are frightened and freaked out. And so even though Jonathan didn't see the Demogorgon, so it's still a traumatic experience, but I think Nancy kind of got the worst of it there. But she's sitting there and she's like, can you just get up here, please? And Jonathan's like, this is my chance. Nah, he doesn't do that. He's a good guy. And he goes up there in the bed and they're sitting there. He's like, it can't get us from here. And it's the typical, nice guy, comforting thing to say. But she's like, you don't know that. It's true. He has no retort for that because they don't know if they're safe here, but they want to at least pretend that they're safe. So they kind of spend the night. Steve apparently is driving by. He catches them. He looks in the window and Jonathan's consoling her. So he thinks they're together now or whatever. He gets all mad. They end up spray painting Nancy the slut on the billboard up there, which is dumb because then Nancy goes through and she's like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, what? Did you study? You guys did some studying last night? And Steve is super jealous. And it's this is, I guess I want to say kind of 180 for Steve, but also Nancy kind of turned him down. And then he kind of caught them together. Honestly, because Steve's been over that room before and he slept with her, well, not in that room, but in his house. And then she had Jonathan over alone late at night. I can see why he'd make that stretch, but Steve is being a dick, and Tommy and Carol were always annoying, and then that girl Nicole who hangs out with them now apparently, who caught Jonathan in the developing booth, they're all super annoying and they're graffitiing. And then Nancy's like, hey, leave it, Jonathan, let's go. And Steve just keeps provoking him. He's like, I thought you were queer, but I guess you were just late bloomer or whatever. And then Steve is just looking for a fight, dude. Jonathan punches him in the face. The cops pull up. They're still punching, and Jonathan goes full psycho on him and starts just kicking the shit out of it. He accidentally hits a cop, so he assaulted a police officer, and then he gets arrested. I think the other kids get away, so Jonathan is the only one arrested. Nancy's there, and she's like, oh, is he gonna get to go soon? And the woman's like, your boyfriend had big plans, and she's like, oh, he's not my boyfriend. And she's like, she's like, I've seen that. She's like, the only thing that can make someone that stupid and do something that crazy is love. And then she she's like, oh, really? And she has a little smile on her face, and she brings the frozen peas over to him, or the ice box. And there's a scene of them holding hands earlier, but it's Dude, Nancy has fully moved on from Steve. This is great because they just went through a traumatic experience together. Like that has bonded them so much that it's like, dude, she doesn't give a shit about Steve now because Jonathan was there when her life was on the line. Jonathan's the one who saved her, and like Jonathan's going through his stuff with her and Steve is brushing it off and Steve didn't care about Barb. And it's like, that's what you get, Steve. That's what you get, Steve Harrington. That stuff is all great. Nancy and Jonathan are like low key adorable. I really, really love their scenes. And there's a bunch of slow zoom ins when they're together. And the music plays, and it's just really, it just puts like a nice cheeky smile on your face. Lucas and Mike make up because, Mike drew first blood and he goes over there and they're like, all right. And they're looking for Elle. Hopper and Joyce go and see 11's mom, we find out. And it turns out that she like was with the CIA and they were doing experiments, and she mentions the tubes that we see 11 in, where you have like no sense of anything, and it's like this sort of salt water or whatever, where you can't feel anything, you lose all sense. And she said they gave them like drugs, but she said I think she volunteered to do it in like the 70s or whatever. But obviously there's something more going on there. She's like, oh, she had a miscarriage in the 3rd trimester, but we keep all that baby stuff upstairs or whatever. It's 12 years now. And then we're like, they're like, what if there was no miscarriage? And they're like, there was a miscarriage. Believe me, she wouldn't just make that up. She's like, there's no birth certificate, no record. And then Hopper and Joyce are like, dude, that's 11. But they don't know 11 yet. And we know it's 11. We're like, oh my God, dude, your daughter's alive. But this is 11's mom, but she's like clearly like crazy. And she said like, you should have come here 5 years ago. Like she's not sane anymore. I think it's her sister that's staying with her. And so she's just kind of sitting there like zoned out, but we see like what's going on there. And she's like, oh yeah, powers with her mind and stuff. She's like, oh, it's all made up. Don't worry. Her sister's like, dude, none of that is real. And they're like, I'm pretty sure. But also, Hopper and Joyce don't know about 11 yet. So this is what was confusing to me, is that it's not like they had spent time with 11. So I'm surprised they made that connection. But this is obviously setting up for something much, much bigger. Okay, guys, my Hawkins hero for this one is going to be 11. 11 goes and saves the day. Really cool scene where the bullies come back again. And I was like, God, I thought we were done with these bullies. But they come over and Dustin and Mike are out in the woods looking for 11. And then the kid has got a knife now. So he thinks he's hot shit. And he pulls a knife on Dustin. And he's like, oh, Toothless is going to have a dentist appointment. Or like he doesn't need his baby teeth or whatever. He's like, unless you jump off that. And like Hopper said, you're going to die if you jump from there, especially a kid. And so it's like Mike goes over and he's like, oh, I'm just going to do it. And Mike goes off. Dustin's like, seriously, dude, don't do it. Mike jumps off and you're like, oh no. And they all run over and then he's like floating there. And then 11 is the one who like brings back up, and then she comes over and she snaps, she uses her mind to snap the kid's arm and then just sends the other kid back. And Dustin's like, our friend's crazy. He's like, if you come back, she's going to kill you. These sons of bitches. But then like that kind of gives PTSD to 11 because she's like, she doesn't want to be weaponized, but she sticks up for her friends. And so that was all really cool. But 11 is the best character, I think, in this one. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown is awesome. She does such a great job. She goes to the grocery store and steals all the Eggos. She's like, yo, Lego my Eggo. But she eats all of them frozen, which is funny within itself. But the guy's like, are you lost? Is your mom here? The guy that works in the grocery store. And she goes, mouth breather. And I'm like, okay, well, the bullies deserve the mouth breather for that one. I was like, that guy didn't deserve it. He's just asking if your mom's around. So that was funny though. And he's like, you got to pay for that. And she's using her mind to like put a cart in front, and then like she smashes the double doors, the glass like sliding doors there. So that's a really fun scene. And then she's hanging out in the woods eating all these frozen waffles because I don't think she knows that she has to heat them up, but she doesn't really care. And so it's just a nice scene. And Millie Bobby Brown, as always, excellent as 11. Okay, guys, the mouth breathers for this one. Hopefully, for the final time, it is the bullies once again. Man, these kids are so annoying. As soon as they came over the hill, I was like, it's a cool moment with 11 and stuff, and it shows that she cares about them. But I saw the bullies, and I was like, why, dude? Like, we're good. Lucas was going out to find the gate on his own. Mike and Dustin were looking for Lucas. They were also looking for 11. It's all good. And then the bully showed up and I was like, we don't need you in the story anymore. We don't need you to be a part of this. You're not contributing anything. You're just classic bullies. You're super one-dimensional. Presumably they're not going to mess with them again, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. It led to a cool moment, I guess. But I was just like, Didn't need this. And yeah, the bullies, once again, I thought the least interesting part of the episode, least interesting characters. All due respect to those actors, just don't like them. Okay, guys, the score for this one, this is an 8.4. This is a good episode. It's just kind of moves the plot along. Other than finding out 11's mom is alive, although kind of not mentally there. We didn't really find anything new out from this one. I love the Nancy Jonathan stuff. It's my favorite part of this episode for sure. I love their dynamic, and I love how just both actors just really, really sell it, where it's like they are, like I said, they're forever bonded by this experience, where it's like that Steve Harrington's got nothing on it. And obviously Steve's being a dick now, but like Nancy, she has to be so attracted to Jonathan because, you know, what's more attractive than saving your life? You know what I mean? So that stuff is great. We get a little bit more 11 stuff in the tank where she actually sees the Demogorgon at the end. And she says, like, I'm the monster. I opened it up. And Mike's like, no, dude, you're not the monster. You saved me, 11. You're not the monster. And it's crazy because they're like, oh, don't worry. Papa tells 11, like, they can't, whatever it is, it can't hurt you from here. And so she goes over and she touches the back of the Demogorgon, and it turns around, like screams at her. And then she freaks out. And then like her powers are starting to destroy the building and stuff. It's really, really cool. But yeah, it just kind of continued the plot. Papa's still a bad dude. He is obviously like breeding 11, or was breeding 11, and just saying like, oh, these people are all your friends. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. And it's like just telling her whatever she wants to hear to continue with the experiments, clearly using her, clearly weaponizing her. Papa's still a bad dude. Hopper and Joyce are getting closer. There's a nice scene where Joyce is like, she's been waiting 12 years. And she's like, man, what if I'm looking for Will for 12 years? And Hopper's like, no, we're close. And he's like, hey, there's a chance. He's like, you want to know what I would give for a chance? And he's talking about his late daughter that we haven't really found out much about, but we know that's kind of what he's hinting at. That stuff is good. And then, yeah, the dynamic, the group dynamic kind of at least deciding to apologize and make up is nice, but we'll see them, I'm sure, back in full force because they have to work together as a group. Now that 11 is back, well, I'm sure they're going to track down Lucas. Lucas was trying to figure out what's going on, the CIA, and using binoculars and whatnot. So a good episode, guys, but nothing really crazy happened. Okay, guys, that's another episode of Talkin Hawkins, our Stranger Things review. We are 6 episodes down, guys. Now we got 2 more left to go in season 1. So thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Like, comment, subscribe if you did like the content. Go check out the other content, of course. And until next Sunday, guys, peace.